Welcome Harvest Runners. How about a VR version of Left 4 Dead? How about a VR game where you can have a fun time with your friends, or complete strangers if you don't have any friends, eliminating hordes of the undead? After the Fall is a VR co-op zombie shooter by Vertigo Games, the studio that brought us the very early adapter to modern day VR games, Arizona Sunshine. And After the Fall tries to be exactly that, a VR version of Left 4 Dead. The world succumbed to the apocalypse and hordes of the undead roam the surface of the earth. In After the Fall these are called snowbreed or short snowies. I really don't know why in popular media these days everyone feels the need to invent their own word for zombies. Oh well, snowies it is, I guess. You are a runner, a group of people that hunt down the undead, snowies, because they drop loot and you like loot. That is all you need to know. After the Fall is a 4-player co-op experience. You can go in with friends, if you have 3 friends that all have VR headsets and happen to be interested in the game that is. In case you don't, there's a matchmaking feature and there are bots to fill up those slots when you want to go in solo. You will start out in a lobby with a bunch of other players that looks like an institute for the physically impaired. Janky player animations aside, the place is styled after an old decayed arcade, which is pretty cool and nicely ties in with the 80s inspired synth soundtrack. One part of the arcade features your weapon console, where you can purchase and customize your weapons. At first you will only have access to the service pistol. As you complete missions, new weapon frames get unlocked, which you will need to buy with Harvest, the currency in the game, that you get by killing enemies and finishing runs. The gun models look pretty good and every weapon is customizable. You will unlock mods for your weapons RNG based during your runs. When you slot them in, they will show on the model. Furthermore, you can unlock new paint jobs. This is the part where flat gaming microtransaction would factor in, not here though. There's no monetization after your initial purchase of the game. The paint jobs are unlocked by completing achievement-like objectives like kill 1,000 snowies for example. There's a total of 5 missions in the game. The structure is always very simple. Fight your way through a, for the most part, linear environment. You will go through a corridors until you get to a combat arena, where some flash vines block your path until all enemies are defeated. At the end of each mission you will get to a boss arena. This is a horde mode shooter. Snowies come in high numbers. The game is not precision but the pure amount of lead you can send flying towards the undead. From time to time some special infectors join the fray. There are the typical archetypes, the tanky boy, an explodey boy, and a big boy that grapples you until you are either dead or your teammates manage to stagger him. The missions are intersected by safe rooms where you can stock up on health syringes and grenades. Every player only has 2 item slots at their wrist, Half-Life Alyx style, so you can only take a limited amount of accessories with you. During your missions you come across clearly visible floppy disks in randomized locations that you have to carry to the next safe room, taking up one of your inventory slots. If you manage to complete the mission, you will get a random weapon mod unlocked for each secured floppy disk. Duplicates are a thing, but you will get some consolation harvest when you happen to draw one. When all players die, the mission ends. There are no checkpoints, so you will have to start from the beginning. You will keep the harvest you collected, but you won't get any weapon upgrades for secured floppy disks. There is PvP, but it is obviously not the focus of the game. There are only 2 maps and 1 mode, a 4v4 team deathmatch. It is a classical arena shooter. You start out with a standard service pistol and you can loot other weapons, healing syringes and grenades strewn across the map. I had a hard time getting into a match and that was on the weekend after release, so the interest in this mode seems to be limited. Furthermore, there are some problems with matchmaking which did not make the situation better. I will get to the matchmaking in a bit more detail later in the video. That being said, when I got into a match I had a really good time with it. The shooting feels satisfying in PvP. I haven't played enough to say anything about weapon balance, but in my short time with the mode it felt okay. It really doesn't matter that much anyhow. This is a low stakes, just for fun game mode. There's no progression to it, no leaderboards, and it is also not tied to the PvE progression. Weapon handling is pretty good and I very much enjoyed the sound design. This charging creates a satisfying oomph that makes the weapons feel impactful.
Nice shot.
Some of them could have a bit more recoil to make them even feel heavier, but maybe that is just me. Headshots give satisfying visceral gore explosions. Bodies are persistent and pile up in the hallways. There are some ragdoll oddities from time to time though. There is no melee combat in this game, which for me is a baffling design decision. When you are out of ammo, you are completely out of the game. There's nothing you can do anymore. Just let us whack a dude over the head with our pistol grip at a last resort defense. The game has a surprising amount of customization and accessibility options. You can choose between a weapon wheel and a holster. You can customize where your holster is by dragging it around, which I found neat. There's a choice of 2 different reload mechanics. The arcade way, you press a button to eject the magazine and pull the gun towards your chest to auto-reload it. Then there's a manual reload, same button to eject the magazine, but here you grab the new magazine from your chest pouch and push it into the well. When there's no bullet left in the chamber, you need to cock the gun. I do like manual reload mechanics in general, and this is a pretty good one. It does however put you at a severe disadvantage, as it simply takes longer and you will need 2 hands to pull it off. Wanna go in John Wick style? Wanna mow through the undead hordes dual wielding SMGs? You can, but good luck reloading in the midst of a horde of snowies. As a compensation for using the manual reload, you get a bonus to your harvest gains. When playing with bots or with friends, I like this option and I personally choose the manual mechanic simply because I find it more enjoyable. When matchmaking with strangers, I am not so sure about it though. You will definitely be less useful for your teammates. Mind you, this is not a game about precision, this is a game about DPS and your reload times will reduce your damage output significantly. Visually I think the game is okay, the enemy models look pretty good and I do in general like the bleak and monotone aesthetic of the game. There has some good lighting in the night missions, but I think the diversity in environments could be higher. The view distance is pretty low, probably for performance reasons. The footage here is recorded on PC with the Valve Index HMD. The visuals on the Quest are toned down quite a bit. Something I have to applaud is that they managed to enable crossplay for PC, PSVR and Quest while having different builds for each, so that the PC players do not have to play a stripped down version that would also be playable on the Quest. Other games have failed spectacularly in this regard in the past. Since the total numbers of potential players for VR games is comparatively low, crossplay is quite important for a multiplayer focused game like this one. There's an open mic that is turned on per default, it works flawlessly even cross-platform, at least between PC and Quest. I did not encounter many PSVR players, so I had no chance to test that. So up to this point I was fairly positive about the game, though you might have gleaned from the thumbnail that my overall impression is not that good. The main reason for that is a lack of content. There are 5 missions in the game, each of them takes about 15 to 20 minutes, so you will see everything the game has to offer in about 1.5 hours. After that, all there is to do is to grind out these missions over and over again to unlock weapon mods and collect harvests so that you can actually afford to buy these weapon mods. The worst part is that there is no variation to this mission. The environments blend into each other, there are no unique landmarks to tell them apart, except maybe for the last mission that is a bit more unique. The play space is always very limited, you can't jump or fall where you are not supposed to go, there are a lot of invisible walls. Also there's no jumping, climbing or falling animations. There are areas where you need to jump down. When you approach them you are just teleported, which is always a bit jarring because you never know when and where the teleport triggers. The mission structure is always the same and very simple. Just kill wave after wave of enemies. There's no team coordination or communication necessary. The enemy variety is low and there's only one boss that you will have to fight in 4 of the 5 missions. And the other mission you will only have a swarm of rank and file enemies to slaughter in the boss arena. And the boss fight isn't even interesting. The huge Snowy has some orange glowing weak spots and you need to keep your distance or he will one-hit you, but apart from that it's just DPS him down. There's no class or specialist system. You get a random skin when starting a game, but these are just skins and have no impact on gameplay. There's also no character customization, which I found surprising. I'm not a huge fan of the weapon progression system either. I think you should have free access to everything you unlock without having to grind a currency on top. However, removing the harvest cost would make the currency more or less useless, which is a problem because it is pretty much embedded into the lore of the world. But to be honest, once you have your preferred loadout ready to rock, harvest will become useless anyway. There are only so many syringes you can buy each run. As farming harvest is the only reason to do runs at all once you have unlocked all mods, I do not see how the system will keep players invested over a long period of time. I would remove harvest cost from weapon customization and introduce another avenues to spend it on. Vertigo could add a character progression system or some kind of battle pass with cosmetic rewards that you progress with harvest. This could be refreshed every so often to keep the grind for harvest relevant. There are also some serious issues with matchmaking. One player is assigned to be the party leader and he has to manually start the match when the party is full. I had it happen to me on more than one occasion that a party leader was AFK or for some other reason would not start the game. When I left the group and tried to match again, I was put in exactly the same group, so I could basically not play at all. That is mildly infuriating. This happened in PvE and in PvP. The game should just start automatically when the match is made and the group is full. Furthermore, it seems that everybody gets sent back to the lobby when the party leader leaves the game. That also needs to be resolved. The game should replace missing team members with bots, or they should add an option for other players to join in ongoing missions, especially for PvP. When you are fed up with the matchmaking and would rather play with bots, you can. The AI is not the stupidest I have ever seen, but is also not the brightest by a long shot. They will participate in battles and they will put down some snowies. They will sometimes revive you when you are down, they won't get stuck in the environment, but you will still pull the weight of the group. The mission structure and mechanics are so simple that everything is soloable. So even if the AI does fuck up, it is not a complete game breaker. Just clutch it yourself. During boss fights, the bots are more or less cannon fodder though. Your main objective is to stay alive. If you die here, the fight is lost, which is a problem because the boss will one-shot you even on the lowest difficulty. So yeah, it is possible to play with bots, but you will have a far harder time completing the missions than with other players. I for sure did have some fun with the game. It just does not have enough variety to keep it interesting enough for me to grind out these missions over and over again. There are already a new mission, a new PvP map, a new game mode, new weapons and enemies on the roadmap. I doubt however that this will be enough to rekindle interest in the game. Vertigo calls this the first season of content, so they apparently plan on expanding the game in the future. It will all come down to if and how they do it. The word season screams monetization, and if their plan was to release a shell of a game so that they can sell the actual content in later seasons, that is definitely not the play. They have a decent foundation going, but there's just not enough content. Let's say they manage to add new missions with objectives that are a bit more involved than just fighting wave after wave of enemies. Maybe they add a specialist system and character customization and melee combat, and maybe they manage to fix the matchmaking. Then the game might qualify as a decent Left 4 Dead clone. But a lot of work would be necessary to make that happen. A lot of work. And even then, except being VR, the game does not bring anything new to the formula. And just being a VR game is not good enough anymore. The novelty of it has worn off and players nowadays want actual good games, and rightfully so. After the Fall is not that game. At least not yet. Thanks for watching.